You're listening to Radio Cosmos.
All night long.
Bravo! My compliments, little lady.
Come on, Sean.
Break for 30 seconds.
Come on, Sean.
You are now listening to BaaD Radio.
Hello and welcome as we launch into the second hour of BaaD Radio. And BaaD stands for Business at a Distance. This is a show about local businesses and business networking. And we are here in the News Radio WFLA Orlando studios from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. every Sunday. And I am your host. And I wanted to give a shout out to Anna Smarito with BaaD Marketing for the amazing job that she's been doing on our YouTube videos. And if you go to our YouTube channel, which is BaaD Radio, you get to see all the previous shows with fully produced YouTube videos. And it's just an amazing thing. So, okay, so we have a new guest today. Please welcome Allison O'Baker with AO Data Flow. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
I was telling her that I absolutely love the pink that she wore today. I always wear dark colors, and I need to start working. I like reds. I never buy pink, though, but it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and so I do have a pink BaaD Radio shirt that I'm going to have to bring back into the mix. So again, thanks for being here today. I'm excited to have you here because you do have a very unique business.
Yes.
And I think that having the opportunity to explain it to the masses is really, really cool because you do a lot of neat things and you help a lot of businesses. And so I think that that's very important. So before we jump into like the little details, how would you explain your business?
Sure. So I do business-to-business financial consulting.
Okay.
So I am kind of that financial expert that can come in and help you with different parts to organize, simplify, and scale your business.
Mm-hmm. And that's your tagline, right?
Yes.
Organize, simplify, scale.
Yes.
All right. So let's talk about what all of that means. So you have a corporate background, right?
Yes.
All right. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So yes, I have worked for several large multi-billion-dollar companies throughout my career. And in the last several of those, it's been very much helping support directly the C-suite level.
Okay.
So I've been in many boardrooms, hearing the types of things that they're wanting and looking for. And I feel like I'm being able to, what I call my MBA is my business achievements of being able to bring all of that knowledge and bringing it down to small and mid-sized businesses and helping them really evolve and get to that next level.
And you know what's so funny is I can totally relate to that because I've been in like marketing and sales for so long, and I forget that experience is worth something.
Yes, it is. It's worth a lot, actually.
And so all of a sudden I'll be doing something and I'm like, well, wait, why would they pick me over, some fresh kid out of college that knows like all the ins and outs of YouTube or TikTok? And I'm like, oh, wait, never mind. Like, I've been doing this for like 30 years. And so that's really cool. When you were working in the corporate America, did you start in corporate America and kind of work your way up? How did that work? Because do you remember, I don't know how old you are, but I'm 51. And in my world, you went to school, you graduated, you went to college, you got a degree, then you got a job with a corporation and got married, and that's what the American dream was.
Yes.
Is that kind of where you were sitting as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've always been someone that's gravitated towards numbers and puzzles and data and building things. So yeah, I actually started college as an architecture student, and then
that's building.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then realized that just wasn't really the right fit for me. And it really wasn't until a certain part in the early stages of my career that I fell into more financial analysis. And then was like the aha moment of like, this is what I'm supposed to do with my life. I am supposed to build upon this knowledge and really help these businesses doing budgeting analysis, strategy, goals, how to track, how to report, how to find value in the numbers in a business.
And then also make a plan with it.
Yes, absolutely.
I think that is such a piece that businesses these days don't understand is the importance of the data.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, I find in a financial statement, and this is a financial empowerment part of my business that I like to do is help you understand and learn your financial numbers. And it isn't even necessarily financial, just your data numbers, and how to find the story of it, and then how to represent it in a way that when you see the number or the metric that you're looking at, you immediately know what action you need to take to address it.
With your business, do you give that kind of guidance, or do you
Yes.
just provide them with the information?
No, I help them bring along in the process. I want my clients to understand why I'm doing the things I'm doing and help them, educate them so that they can start seeing it themselves.
Right. Okay, that's really fascinating. In corporate America, because I worked in corporate America too, and there's a level of burnout. How many years did you work in that before? I didn't get to my burnout till probably I think it's been about 3 or 4 years ago now that I was like, okay, I had enough.
Yeah. I mean, I was in mostly corporate America for about the first probably almost 20 years of my career. And then the last few years of it, I ended up being a little bit more smaller companies for a while, a boutique IT consulting firm.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, so I got to work with a lot of different types of clients, but still in a financial space and related to financial management. And it was more so I just got to a point of realizing, I definitely had the corporate burnout. I was working 50, 55-hour weeks. I felt like I had, a lot of free rent was being used in my head, even on my off time. And then realized, I can do so much more to actually bring this to these different types of businesses that aren't going to get the experience and can't afford to have someone full time with the experience I have, and be able to help them along in their business journey and get them to a place where they have less stress about the numbers. They have less stress and can sleep better knowing that I'm helping them evolve that business and focus more of their time back towards their passions of their business.
And it's so much more fulfilling. And
absolutely.
When you work for corporate America, you can do the best job you could possibly have done, and you might get a good job, and then it's always, what's next?
Yeah.
What else are you going to sell? For me, it's always, what else are you going to sell?
Yeah. Or sending out reports to thousands of people and not knowing if a single one of them is actually looking at it and doing anything with it.
Right. So I understand. You and I are very much similar in the fact that I figured out probably about 5 years ago that my passion is working with small businesses. And that's when I got into the whole networking world, and I was introduced to BaaD and all the amazing businesses that are with that. And I'm starting to find that America, I don't know about all of America, but Florida is starting to, I see this curve of people going into their own businesses more and more and more. And that's where you kind of come into play, is that because a lot of these business owners don't know how to own a business. I'm one of them. I don't know how to own I know how to do certain things that I'm really good at, but then there's other things I'm like, I don't know what to do with this.
Sure.
So,
and we're not supposed to know it all, right? That's the point of helping businesses realize that it's okay to hire other people as vendors or consultants to help you with specialized areas of your business.
Right.
We can't do it all, and that's okay. But it's accepting the help of someone who can get you to that next level.
I'll tell you one thing, though. I just hired a bookkeeper, and just getting the numbers organized, I already feel better.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I know that I'm supposed to use this account for this and this account for this, and I'm doing that. And when I get a receipt, I send it to him and all the things. And just that little tiny bit of organization has already made me feel better. So I can only imagine once you get hold of a business, how much better they must feel.
That's just the tip of the iceberg, right? Of moving into your what I call the foundational finance pieces. It's your chart of accounts. It's making sure that those are set up that is industry specific for your business.
Right.
So you can start seeing the organization and the categorization of
Do
what
you work
really affects
within
that.
specific organization or with industries?
I don't rule out any specific industries at this point. I definitely tend to enjoy working with service-based businesses.
Oh, okay.
I've definitely done some law firms, a lot of marketing, advertising agencies.
Okay.
Even a jewelry designer. So it's kind of a vast amount that.
Right. I can imagine some of the industries like food service and stuff like that might be a little bit different.
Yeah.
But you know what? You don't know till you try. So, all right. Well, we're going to run to break. And when we get back, we're going to continue this conversation. So everybody stay tuned for more BaaD Radio coming up.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
Welcome back. And this portion of the show is brought to you by Frogger's Grill and Bar. Looking for a place to go with friends or meet new ones? Then you're looking for Frogger's Grill and Bar. With daily specials, an amazing kids menu, and college and NFL football on over 50 large TV screens, there is something for everyone. And you don't want to miss out on Frogger's amazing menu where everything is fresh, never frozen. And they have 4 great locations, so there's bound to be one near you. Oviedo, Mount Dora, Apopka, and Altamont Springs. Frogger's, hopping with food and fun. I like my little sayings there. He always hooks me up with those. So we're here with Allison O'Baker with AO Data Flow, and the first segment we really got to talk with you and learn a little bit more about you, and that's one of the key things that I like to do with the show is let the audience get to know the person that I'm talking to and why you do the things you do. And I love the fact that you're comfortable talking about it. I can see it in your facial expressions that you're passionate about it. Mm-hmm. So what I mentioned is that we want to talk about that transition where you were in corporate America and you're like, okay, burnout. My passion is to work with smaller businesses. And so I'm assuming that you started building this in your brain before you actually took the plunge. So how did that process go?
Yeah, it was really, it was something I hadn't even thought about in the rest of my career. And
it wasn't even on the radar.
No, I'd never really thought about being an entrepreneur. And I was just really, talking with some friends, and I am blessed to have been through some leadership programs with some women that are a lot of very strong community entrepreneurs in this area. Mm-hmm. And
we were talking about that the first hour, boss babes.
Yeah. And it was really just one of them one day just looked at me. She's like, why aren't you just doing independent consulting? You don't need the corporate structure anymore with the experience you have. And I'm like, aha, it was my aha moment for that. And I'm like, that's a good idea. Let me think of what that looks like.
Right. Well, I know the first answer is the paycheck and the sales part of it and all of those other scary things, insurance, and that come along with it. So, girl, I know.
Sure.
That's the first bit.
Yeah, but I'm a finance person.
Right.
So,
Okay, yes.
That part wasn't. I've always been a good saver. So I kind of like, okay, let me think of what that would look like and what type of services I would offer.
That's a big plunge, though, and that means you're brave as hell. So I know that. And she's like, I don't know what to say to that.
Yeah, well, I think, yes, I am. But I've always taken risk in my career, and it has always paid off. So I feel like I haven't made a wrong mistake yet in terms of anything of a big jump. So, I'm just trusting in me. And
that's what you should do. I love it. So as you started to put the pieces together, we talked about, in our one-to-one is like financial empowerment was one of the things that you brought up as a key element. Let's talk a little bit about that and what that means.
Sure. So I understand that talking about money is very vulnerable for most people.
It is.
And emotional. And there are people that just, if they haven't been around it and that hasn't been educated on it, like they can sometimes feel very shameful about money or even wanting money. And it's I want people to realize that I create the environment for my clients of this is a safe space. There's no judgment of what your money situation is. I'm here to help you just improve upon it and help educate you. And with that of my business, it's not even just of the operational and finance piece of your business. I'm still going to even ask you questions to help you kind of figure out your whole financial plan of your life.
Right.
I have the right people that I can refer them to for estate planning or business succession planning legally, personal financial planning, making sure that you're saving and investing personally.
Let me ask you a question about people and money, because I have a certain belief that certain people react to money differently.
Absolutely.
Like, I think that, and for some people, money changes them. Like, they can be a completely rational, normal person, but when the subject of money comes up, they change. They have a different perspective of value. And sometimes I find them irrational when it comes to money. And now that I'm at this point in my career, I will walk away from certain people that want, but don't see the value in what you're doing, or they try to take the value away from you. But have you had to work with some people like that in the past where it's like they're more worried about what they don't want to spend as opposed to what they should spend in order to see the long-term benefits? Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, because I understand that the space that I fill is a space that most people outside of the corporate world doesn't realize exist. So it's really once talking to me and me talking to business owners is trying to help them understand why you need me to be the bridge between your bookkeeper and your tax accountant. I feel this whole other space of helping you with understanding the strategy, coming up with financial goals, starting to learning how to track towards them, doing a budget. Like, you should not be focusing your business on just your cash inflow and outflow, because then you just trap yourself in this phase of the hamster wheel, right? Of like, oh, I have enough money to pay the bills this month, but that's not how you get your business to be more successful, right? For whatever your goals are. If your goals are that even that you just want to maintain and be happy, great. But I can still help you put in things in place like doing a budget and understanding how to make your money work for you,
or understanding the importance of things like long-term, things like insurance and like you mentioned. Retirement funds and things like that, because they're like, why would I put money? That means I have less money in my my bank account, and I'm just giving it to somebody else, kind of thing.
Sure,
so,
but then it's the compounding effect of how that affects your retirement, so that you're not having to work. I like
how she talks to me so like rationally. There's no emotion here, and that's important. That's really important that you can have those conversations, because you're not getting frazzled by what I'm saying. You're answering me very, very, very level-headed. I think that's awesome. So education on financial situations, right?
Yeah. And so it's really just, I want to create that safe space for clients to be able to have these type of conversations and pull the emotion out of it. If they have the emotion, okay, give it to me. Tell me why you feel that way, and let's figure out a way to address money and numbers that does not cause you as much stress anymore.
I love it. I've just come across some people that think that everybody's trying to rip them off. It doesn't matter what happens. Everybody, from I don't know, from the garbage man to the mailman to whoever, everybody's trying to take their money.
Yeah.
But
I feel like I've come across with I try to come across as very authentic. Like, I am who I am, and I'm here to help you. I'm not here just to,
I don't just want to take your money and leave you.
No, exactly. I really want to see people start to understand.
I love that.
The finance, and that makes me satisfied, right?
Right. Absolutely. And then we started talking about business as being a puzzle. I get that too. So tell me how that incorporates into your business as well.
Yeah, I've always been a jigsaw puzzle person. I mean, I literally probably have 50 jigsaw puzzles.
At your house?
Yeah, my house, yes.
Oh my God, I would go scatterbrain crazy.
And I will redo puzzles. But to me, I see businesses as a puzzle, really. And the finance piece of it and setting that up correctly is what I see as, the edges. You always do the edges first. So you need to fill out that part first. And then we can start filling in the other pieces of the puzzles that are related to operations or IT or the product or, other operating expenses. But you've got to have the foundation first before you can see the full picture. What would that be
like? Are you talking about like standard things like a website, like their logo? Is that like the outside of the
No,
business?
It's the things like making sure you have good financial statements, that you're
way bigger than that stuff.
Yeah, that you're putting a budget in place, right? Talking about what those goals are. They're all parts of the pieces of the puzzle. And you need to know where you're going before you can measure against it to know how you're progressing.
Right. Okay, I like that. That does make sense to me. And that's how you kind of built the premise of your business, is like saying, okay, this is the puzzle. This is the outside of the puzzle. So this is what we're going to talk about first.
Yes.
I want to ask you how long all this takes, but we still have some other things, part of the puzzles that we need to talk about before that. Well, actually, you know what? It looks like we're about to come up to break. It's crazy how fast that goes, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that's okay, because we still have 2 more segments to talk before we wrap things up. So you guys stay tuned for more BaaD Radio coming up.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
Welcome back. And this portion of the show is brought to you by Liberty Property Inspections. Your home is one of your most important investments, so don't trust it to just anyone. LibertyPropertyInspections.net, helping you protect your investment. And we are here with Allison O'Baker of AO Dataflow, and we were talking about her business and how she's structured it. And so far we've talked about, in financial empowerment, and then we talked about like the puzzle, like putting the business as a puzzle put together. And so now let's talk about strategic planning. And I think that strategic planning means different things to different people. There's some people that are going to think strategic planning is like, what am I doing next month? And other people are going to think, what am I doing in 5 years? So how do you approach that with businesses?
Yeah, so there's different parts of that depending on probably how long the business has been around. Might be my starting point of understanding. If they've been around for a while, like, do they have an exit strategy? Do they know like where they want to go with their business in the future?
Did you say an exit strategy?
Yes.
Like when they want to pull the plug?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because it could be, do you want to just pull the plug? Do you want to sell it? Do you want to hire other people to come in and take over from you? Because sometimes those conversations, even though it doesn't necessarily have to be that you 100% know, if you do know, then let's put that in the plan, because there might be pieces that we put into place now to help gain towards that.
That's fascinating. So some people might just say, like, I want to build a legacy. I want to build something I can pass down to my kids. And then you would take that in consideration as to some of the decisions for the business?
Yeah, because you might even need to be in terms of some of the paperwork that you have set up of making sure, even in an emergency, that there are other people listed on the business that can access the financial accounts in case something happens. Like,
yeah, I would never have thought about that.
Yeah.
You're like, you don't have to.
Exactly. And, so for me, with all that, with strategic planning is also talking about the goals and where you want to go with certain things. But that's comes down to, it could be industry specific. It could be just business specific. I've had clients where we look at, okay, we want to have a certain percentage of money that's going towards an emergency cash fund.
Okay.
If it's a newer business, especially, you want to start building up some of that cash balance just in case something happens.
And I mean, like if like a piece of equipment goes down or something like that.
Yes, or something happens with payroll, or you lose a client that was unfortunately a larger portion of your revenue.
Right.
So that you have something to fall back on. It could also be like, oh, you only want to spend a certain percentage towards your cost of sales contractors. So it really is just kind of like talking what their needs are a lot. And a lot of what I do is actually more so listening than giving advice.
Do you ever come across people that just don't know, and you're like, well, let's suggest some strategic planning, and you kind of give them some ideas? Because like,
yes.
I would see where a lot of people were just like, they just try to make it through next day. It's like one day at a time, and they really don't think about the future.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's where my experience comes in,
right.
Because I have worked for so many different industries and I've seen so many different types of situations that me looking at a business, I'm coming in with fresh eyes, and because of that experience can sometimes see things easier than others that the business owner is so deep in it, they might not know what to do with it. And so I kind of just start asking the questions and leading in a way that, okay, these are the things that I do see. Are these some things goals that you want to have?
Right. Or it might be a cost of goods or cost of something that they've never realized that they can get it elsewhere for and save money, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Did you find things like that a lot, that businesses just are set in their ways without actually realizing that?
Sure. Yeah. I definitely do like cost management and expense reviews. So kind of looking at what the expenses you have, and even sometimes even if it's a certain application or IT tool that they're using, sometimes they're using things that they're paying for more of a subscription or membership than they're using. Either can you cut that out or can we reduce that?
Right.
Sometimes it's just negotiating with other vendors for different pricing.
So they might not even realize it. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, you buy a program and you're only using 1/10 of that program.
Exactly.
Huh. That's pretty interesting. How long does it take? Well, again, I'm jumping forward because I'm like the whole time I just want to say, how long does this take you?
There's no set time. That's the thing. It really is business specific. It is everything they do is very tailored to the individual business.
Right.
And so if it's a smaller or newer company, it might not take as long.
Right.
Because there's not as much data and history to go through. If it's a company that's been around longer and there's a lot more processes already in place, then it might be a little bit more, time consuming. And if it's a corporation or something that's larger, that's where I come in as maybe more an advisory capacity of helping with the strategy and looking at things from a different perspective. But then they might have finance accounting people that can actually like do the work to make the changes.
Right. And that's kind of the consulting side of
Yes.
AO Data Flows, where you come in and you make suggestions and, like you said, just look at the processes and make recommendations on how to improve it.
Mm-hmm.
At what point do a lot of those larger businesses get to where they're like, we need help?
With I haven't done as much in the consulting side yet with larger corporations. I really so far still am more so focusing on that small to mid-sized business.
Right.
That maybe don't have any finance accounting people on staff. And so I tend to start my process of let's maybe start with a project of certain things that I can identify with you of your needs. And then eventually maybe potentially roll into that fractional CFO recurring space.
Explain to me what fractional means. That means like a
Part-time.
part-time.
So-
Okay. But you're not like a W-2 of the company.
No.
You're like okay.
No, so fractional CFO is definitely
I've heard
kind of a new buzz term a bit. And it's really that you're getting the benefit of somebody with CFO experience, but as a vendor consultant for a certain set dollar amount, usually per month. There's certain deliverables and things we talk about, and so you can't. A lot of these different businesses that can't afford a full-time CFO. Like a full-time good CFO is going to be a W-2, $150,000 to $500,000 a year salary potentially. So it's breaking it down to, okay, you get so much of my time or so many specific things that we work on monthly and at a recurring basis.
No, I think that's cool. I actually heard that term for the first time, like sometime last month. And I'm like, I don't know what that
Probably from me.
Actually, you were the second time I heard it, because I heard it and then you mentioned it in our networking group. And I'm like, ooh, there's that term again.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. So I don't use the word freelance is more of like, I think, for graphic design and things like that. So it's more than just freelance. It's an actual vendor being hired as a vendor situation.
Yes.
So all right. So let's talk about budgeting and reporting a little bit, because I also think that smaller businesses tend to let that slide because they've got so many other things going on.
And sometimes larger businesses too.
Oh, yeah. Well, I hope not, but I'm sure they do.
But yes, budgeting is one of those things I kind of nerd out about, because it's so important to have. Basically you're creating a roadmap for your business for your fiscal year. And then it's me helping you build out reporting then that each month or quarterly you're measuring how your actual expenses and revenues were against what you budgeted. And it's not saying that you can't go off budget some, but it's taking that point of realizing, okay, hey, we actually did really good in revenue against our budget this month. What was the reason why? What are the drivers? Can we replicate that going forward so that you keep growing? Or it's like sometimes you get an unexpected hit to your expenses and be like, okay, is that something that could have been avoidable, and can we avoid it in the future?
Right.
So it's like you talk about, the roadmap. You wouldn't go on a road trip without your GPS at this age.
Not if I'm driving.
Not with this technology. So
you'll end up in the wrong state. I can tell you that.
Exactly. So why would you be operating a business without having GPS of a direction that you're going?
It's a good question. It's a very logical question. I don't know. But I want to talk about that some more. But I know it goes really fast, but it's time for another break already.
Okay.
It's crazy, right? How fast it goes. All right, you guys, stay tuned, because we're going to have more BaaD Radio coming up.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
Welcome back, and I'd like to give a huge thank you to our sponsors, Bolts Legal. Fear no storm with boltslegal.com. Inbalance Bodywork in Lake Mary. Derek Brantley is ready to help take your pain away. Forge IT Consulting, providing a fully outsourced IT department with a personal touch for small business. ForgeITconsulting.com. And Get Me Automated. Ashley takes care of everything automated, and so you got to give her a call, and that is getmeautomated.com. All right, so we're here with Allison, and the name of her company is AO Data Flow, and we've talked about a lot of things over the last half hour. And what we're going to talk about right now is what it looks like to become a client of Allison's. And I'm always like super transparent about things, and I'm like, okay, during the break, I'm like, I want our audience to know what it would be like to call you, and I want to eliminate any like fear factor, or if I call this person, what am I getting myself locked into? So let's talk about that a little bit. So if somebody is in a situation, they have their business, they're working day to day, there's money coming in, there's money going out, it's not organized, and that's when they should call you, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so you get that call. Let's talk through it.
Sure. So I do a complimentary 30-minute consultation.
Is it usually like a virtual or in person, or I mean, how would you prefer it?
It's usually virtual. I can do in person, but everything I do can be remote and nationwide. So Orlando does not have to be my only market.
Awesome. That's good to know.
I have supported executives across the nation and never met them in person in several careers. So
Well,
I'm very good at creating those relationships.
You know what's cool
and
though
trust.
is that since COVID has hit, that's I hate the new norm. I hate that term, but it is a lot more common. Like I am happy doing business with somebody, just meeting them virtually. Like I have no problems with that.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I think that was positive that came out of COVID. So, okay. So you do a
Absolutely.
consultation, and then you basically have like a.
So in the consultation, I usually send a 6-question survey in advance that I prefer that they potential clients complete.
Okay.
And it's very simple. It's not anything that should stress anyone out.
You're not asking them for the password to their business account?
No. It's really just like, what industry are you in? How long you've been in business? How many employees do you have? And I ask you what your passions about your business are,
Okay.
what your pain points are, and what your goals are.
Let's talk about pain point. Like that can mean a lot of things.
It can.
Right.
But for me, it just helps kind of gauge a little bit of the start of what they might be looking for services, and helps open the conversation in the actual meeting.
What are some of the pain points that you've heard in the past?
I mean, a lot of them are the ones of just not understanding their numbers, or scared to know how much cash they have, and they don't really understand where they're at in their business, or just they're stressed about money, and those are very normal things, and so a lot of what I can do is build solutions to help address those.
Curious off the topic, but have you ever gone through people's stuff and realized that somebody's stealing from them from within the company?
Luckily, no.
Okay.
Luckily, I have not come across that.
Okay. I had a friend that he was a business owner,
Yeah.
and he owned a chain of restaurants, and
Oh,
it was bad though.
Yeah,
I just thought about that when you were talking about like the pain point. He didn't know what was going on.
Oh, wow.
He couldn't figure out why things weren't adding up. And it turned out to be a person that he totally trusted too,
no, that's
which is
scary.
crazy. But that's something you'd be able to identify.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Because I go and do a deep dive into the financials and how they're flowing and who's touching what.
Gotcha.
But anyway, so that will be like the first kind of conversation. And then moving forward into a second call or meeting would be about a little deeper and trying to kind of help build a scope of what their needs are and really get that deeper understanding. And I do usually ask to have a copy of some of their more recent financial statements. And once again, that's not anything. I don't need anyone to clean anything up in advance. It's just it just helps me judge a starting point of what their needs may be.
Right. Is this where they kind of will be like, oh, well, I need to sign an NDA, or you know what I mean? Like, is that where people get a little bit nervous sometimes?
I haven't come across anyone getting nervous yet.
Okay. No, that's great.
I think I put people at ease.
Yeah.
It's really just of having that open, in-depth conversation of really identifying what their biggest areas of need are, how I can address them, and then kind of coming up with a scope for them and seeing if they want to move forward.
Right. Have you seen some things that are like so blatantly obvious to you, but they were like, oh, I never thought of that?
I mean, yes, but that's where my 20 plus years of corporate finance accounting experience comes in.
It's got to feel so good to you though. Like when you're like, okay, well, we could just do this, tweak this, get this done, and put this over here, and voila. And they're like, whoa, we've been struggling with that for like the last 10 years. And it was actually like a not too scary, of a solution that they were able to tackle that. So
yeah, things usually aren't as hard to fix as people are afraid they're going to be.
Well, we love to do that, though, don't we? Build up problems that are way bigger than they really are in our heads. And I don't know about you, but I'll create a problem in my head and go through the scenarios of how to solve it before it even has happened.
Yeah.
All right, so they decide to move forward, and I think that's amazing. I think it's awesome that you. Let's talk about the different branches of the different types of things that you offer. So I mean, I've seen your deck before, so I've saw the different things on there. So there was a lot of different things. So how do you present that? So do you go through that with them, or do you like pull the things out for their specific presentation? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, usually after the first call or conversation I have with them, I can kind of already in my mind start to identify the areas I think they need of services. And then during that second conversation, or we're digging deeper, I'll start like highlighting the services I think they need and kind of explaining to them what is involved in those.
Okay.
And then kind of see like which of these are priorities. Do you agree with which ones I'm identifying, and then kind of figuring it out from there.
Right. Because like I said, I've seen your deck. I've seen the very large amount of services that you offer. Let's just talk about those a little bit. We don't have to talk about all of them. Yeah. But if you want to go ahead and list some of those off, that'd be great.
So with my experience, like I said, 20 plus years of corporate finance, accounting, project management, I've seen a lot of different things. I've worked for a lot of different industries. Finance and accounting, or financing and accounting, it's just figuring out the industry-specific nomenclature and product cycles is really where I can kind of, add that extra value because I have seen so much. And so I've done things as well with like data management and a little IT solutions, some BI tools.
So IT, you're talking about like their equipment?
Not so much the equipment, but more of like understanding different like tools and applications. So I feel like I can come into a business and see the high level of the finance structure, but also the different pieces of data and numbers from the source all the way down through the reporting and any kind of system it touches.
Okay.
So helping understand, is your data even clean to begin with? And then how are you moving it into your financials? And then are your financial statements in good shape? And then how are you pulling data, analytics, metrics, KPIs to have value add information to pull from that information.
Right.
So it's kind of like the whole scope of it.
Right. And so do you get to that point and then you bring them in and then you start working on one, then the next, and
some of them are kind of concurrent. Some things have to kind of be worked on at the same time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just depending on what area we're at.
Right.
So, so it's anything from my services, like I said, it's helping those foundational finance pieces. It's kind of processes and systems. And then moving along into different data reporting elements and fractional CFO.
Well, like I said, I think that's amazing. So right now's the time we're going to give everybody all your contact information so they could reach out to you specifically.
Wonderful. Thank you. So yes, it's Allison O'Baker. I am AO Dataflow Consulting. You can find my website at aodataflow.com. I also, under that name, have a LinkedIn page and a Facebook page for the business. And the business phone number you can reach me at is 833-659-4404.
Allison, thank you so much for being here
Thank
today.
you
And
for
I'm looking
having
forward
me.
to, we're going to have you on again.
I think
and
so.
I'm going to give a huge thank you to all of our sponsors for tuning in, and have a great week, everyone. And remember to support local.